It's a beautiful morning. How are you doing? Welcome to Jan 316 Motivation Monday. I hope you're doing well. I hope you had a great weekend and you are excited about this new day that the Lord has given us. COVID-19 pandemic has changed how we live life. I mean, most of us are just keeping to job home. If you are able to work during this season, job home. Even though looking at the local dailies today, some Kenyans are misbehaving, but majority of us are trying as much as possible minimize movement, putting on our mask and all these things we are supposed to do. But one of the things that has really been affected is how we worship. Over the last 3 months now, going to 4 months actually, we've not been able to meet as congregations to fellowship, but this Sunday I can see from the local dailies some churches are beginning to resume with their church services. But for the last 3-4 months, we've not been able to meet because of the COVID-19 pandemic, and it has greatly affected how we do worship. A good number of churches going on to online platforms to be able to broadcast their services and to interact with their faithfuls, and that has been quite an experience. So, a group of people did a research to find out how has the COVID-19 pandemic affected how we worship in this country, our perception to worship, our faith. Has our faith increased? Has it decreased? Do we still value meeting in a church building, or has that changed? Because a lot of things have changed in this season. And on the show today, we'll be taking a look at some of the findings that they came up with, looking at COVID-19 and worship in this country. So look out for that in this show, and I hope that the information will be able to help us to know the way forward as we look towards what God is doing and what God is accomplishing in us, even in this season. So, even as we have this conversation, would love to know the church you go to. Have you guys started meeting again? Let me know if you have, and if you are available to go. How was the service? 20316 is the SMS line. WhatsApp number 0786 316 316. Today we want to talk about worship in Kenya and how COVID-19 pandemic has affected how we worship in Kenya, and interesting statistics from a research that was done. In studio with me, I have Nasubo Ongoma, who is a lead research at Kala. And they worked on the research, and we want to find out what they discovered. Nasubo, how are you doing?
I'm fine, thank you.
Good to have you in studio today.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for agreeing to come and spend some time with us.
Yeah, it's a pleasure.
So this research that you guys did, what necessitated this research?
So we wanted to understand how COVID has affected religion. So we decided to reach out to Kenyans to understand what are their sentiments on COVID, how has it affected their religion, what are they currently doing, what tools, or how has religion changed to them. Okay. Because worship used to be a physical place. Yeah. Right now everything has been closed, and now what are they doing? Because we know during pandemics and during when people are grieving or something like that, they usually turn to religion. Exactly. So right now, what are they doing? How has their faith increased? Has it reduced? That's what we wanted to do. Okay.
When you say religion, so basically you're talking about, you didn't just look at Christians.
No. We looked at Muslims and Christians. Okay. Because they are the majority. So Christians are 70% in Kenya, and Muslims are 10%. Okay. So, sorry, 70 and Muslims are 10%, and then the rest. Okay. So we wanted to understand now, how has that changed? Has that dynamic changed?
Now, I know we have social distancing, so I'm just curious. So how did you reach out to them? What methods did you use to get in touch with people and to do this research?
Yeah, so we had three ways of reaching out to the participants. One, we did a web survey via Google Forms, and then we distributed it online. Then the other one, we had SMS. So we used the Ajua platform. Yes. And then the third one, which is very qualitative, and we did it mostly with Muslims, was phone calls. So we reached out to different people in Kenya. In different counties. Okay. So yeah, that's how we did it.
So about a total of how many people were you able to get in touch with and they responded? Okay,
so for in total was 800, and I'm adding 12 plus 15, 27.
Even me, I do that, by the way.
827.
827. That's a good number of people.
Yes.
That's a good.
At least it represents a good portion of people in Kenya.
And most of them from.
So most of them were from Nairobi. At least 70% from Nairobi metropolitan. Now the bigger one, Nairobi, Kiambu. Yes. why are they failing me?
The
Machakos.
Nairobi with aloe vera, the bigger one.
Exactly that one.
Yeah.
But we also had respondents from Wajir and other counties, Bungoma, Kisumu, but I was really minorities. It wasn't a big enough sample.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we can comfortably say the findings that you came out with are mostly Nairobi based, so to speak, because the larger majority of the people came from Nairobi.
Exactly.
I'm just curious, what was the ratio of Christians to Muslims that you were able to interact with?
Actually, from the survey, I think we just got 3% from the people from the Muslim religion, Islamic religion.
Yeah.
And that's why we decided let's do a qualitative research with them. So we had 15 participants who are Muslims.
Hebu tuelimishe, ukisema qualitative unamaanisha nini?
Sorry. Yes. Okay. So we have two types of research. We have qualitative and quantitative. So when it comes to quantitative, it's just numbers. So you're asking questions, yes, no, like very, you're just trying to get numbers.
Yeah.
But for qualitative, you're trying to get like a study that people now give you an in-depth. So it's like more discussion. You're trying to ask questions, asking the questions, answering the questions why.
Okay.
Yeah, why.
So it's a more deeper conversation, so to
Exactly.
speak.
But quantitative, it's mostly what. Trying to look for the numbers.
So because the Muslim respondents were a smaller number, then you were able to dig deeper.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, just to understand what they're doing and how has it affected their religion and their practices.
Okay. I'm just curious, what kind of questions were you asking?
So we had like a broad set of questions. We were asking what is the effect of the shutdown? What are they currently doing? Who are they turning to right now? Now that sort of the community that they used to depend on has been
not available.
Yes, those are the questions. And then we also asked questions on reopening. What are your thoughts on reopening? What do you think about that?
Okay.
Yeah, so those are the types of questions we asked.
Was the response good? Did they answer all the questions? Were there some questions people skipped?
I would say generally they answered all questions and they answered them very well, because we just wanted to understand their sentiments. So we just got to understand that one, that most religious organizations have turned to digital, digital technology. So it's not just WhatsApp. So it's just like radio, TV, so they've turned to that. But that is a lower percentage. Most of them have used Facebook Live, they've used all this other YouTube to now get the message to the people.
Okay, let's look at some of the things that came out from this research. I think one of the things I saw when I looked at the research you guys had done is that we are a very religious country.
Yes.
Talk to us a bit about that one.
Okay, it was interesting to get that, because I think when I went, I thought, maybe I'll get, I'm not religious. But all the people who answered said they depend on religious beliefs to make even decisions. They depend on, like, everything they do, their day-to-day living is based on some form of religion. So it was very interesting to get that. And sometimes when you talk to people, you expect that they would, give you an alternate view, but most of the people we talked to say that. So it was very, very interesting. And I'm hoping that probably because COVID happened, people are thinking a lot more about
their creator.
Exactly. And trying to get answers. So that was one thing that we got, that right now people are turning to. There's a huge percentage, I think it was around 50% or more than 50, that said they're now more religious. Like they're now turning to, their faith has increased. Over this time.
I found that interesting. But back to the whole issue of people turn to their religious beliefs to make a lot of these day-to-day decisions. That also I found interesting, which made me curious to the ratio of men to women. Because the assumption many of us make is that women are the ones who stick to our churches, Mama Kanisa. Even as pastors, we say our churches are usually full of women. So I'm curious to know the ratio of men to women on this research.
So we had 59% were male.
Oh.
Yeah. It was very, very interesting. 59% were men.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you have age brackets?
We had
bulk.
Right now, top of my head, I can't think.
Okay.
But yeah, that's something that
you can look into.
Yes.
But that's very interesting.
Yeah.
Because I would have probably assumed that maybe 60% women and 40% men.
Yeah, it was so interesting. I was like, wow, 59% men. And then something else that was very interesting, the reason why we used the two methods. So we said web and there was SMS.
Yeah.
To accommodate people from all social classes. So because not everyone is able to access the internet, so that's why we also used SMS. So it was very interesting to get that perspective. Yeah.
Wow, we are talking about the effects of COVID on how we worship in this country. I find that very interesting, that a good number of people say they depend on religion to make their day-to-day decisions and how they live life. Very, very interesting. I was asking a question earlier on, and I'm still asking it. Were you guys able to go to church? The church where you fellowship, was it open this Sunday? Were you able to go? What are some of the measures that have been put in place? Ama ulisema wamefungua lakini mimi bado siendi, bado niko nyumbani. I want to find out that from you as we get into more discussions on what this research was able to uncover. Very interesting discussion I'm having with Nasubo Ongoma, who's a research lead at Kahala. And they did a research, interviewed about 827 people, 827 people, most of them Christians, and just finding out how COVID-19 has affected their perception towards worship, religion, and all that. Very interesting findings. Curious, because looking at these numbers, my assumption would be, did you go to churches to look for these people?
No. We didn't go to churches. We reached out to... we used, I said, two channels. One was the web and then the SMS.
Yeah.
So it was very random.
Just random people.
Yes, random people.
That makes it even more interesting.
Yeah.
Because looking at the numbers, it's very interesting to see that majority of the people turn to their religious beliefs. So really then what we are saying is, or what this research is bringing out is, as much as some people go out there and live a wild life, they have some religious beliefs.
Yes. That's something that came from the people we sampled. They do have like some form of religious belief. It was only like maybe 3% that said they don't turn to religion, but the rest of the people said always, sometimes. Yeah. So it was a very interesting analysis from that.
In terms of adjusting to the crisis that we all face, because it came suddenly without warning. I mean, we've never experienced anything like this. What were some of the responses towards how this has affected, how they're adjusting to this crisis?
So when it comes to adjusting, so most of them, the biggest sentiment was, right now, my faith has increased. There are some whose faith has decreased, yes, but the majority was that their faith has increased. So they are reading the religious books, Bible. Some people also mentioned they're reading the Quran more. They are now trying to seek for answers. They're trying to seek for redress. What is happening? What should I do? How should I handle this thing that has happened? Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah, it was. For those people who talked about their faith has decreased, I think most of them mentioned that. Also, we asked to what degree. So there was a chunk that said has decreased slightly. Some of them said has decreased to a great extent.
Okay.
So I think those are the people religious leaders should reach out to, because they used to depend on the physical house of worship. So right now that has been taken away from them, so they do not know or do not have a place to turn to.
We always say that Christianity thrives under persecution. When things are okay, we kind of get comfortable, but when there's a bit of a shaking, a bit of persecution, life is hard. It's like Christianity blossoms in that kind of an environment. And so I find it interesting because your research actually confirms for a lot of people to say their faith is increasing, because they're having to fend for themselves spiritually.
True.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
I don't know what the takeaway to the pastors would be on that point from your perspective.
I think the takeaway is just reach out to the people, understand what they're facing, what their needs are right now, and know that it is time to maybe adjust your form of interaction. Yeah. That is I think that came out really strongly, because some of them mentioned they reach out to their religious leaders, others did not. So it is really, really important to now reach out to the members, regardless of who they are, and try to find out what they are currently doing and how they are.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know a lot of churches are doing. They've gone on social media, mostly social media, Facebook and a lot of YouTube. What was the findings in terms of churches switching now to digital platforms? How did the people respond to that question?
I think a lot of churches have switched to online, to digital channels, and a lot of the people that we interviewed mentioned that yes, they are now partaking church or partaking their worship via online channels. They have WhatsApp groups, they have Facebook groups, they have different channels that are reaching out, or they're getting their information. So they're also doing a lot of YouTube. That was very interesting. They're also doing a lot of YouTube. We only had, I think it must be between 20 to 30% that said they do not know what their churches are doing.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
is it because they're not connected digitally, or the pastors are not doing anything on the online platforms?
That one, I think they just have no idea what is happening. Yeah. So it was something that came out, and I thought, okay, maybe it's because when we interviewed, we also asked questions on how big is your church, and we had very interesting answers. So there was one, especially for the web, people who answered via online. They said that their churches, I can't remember the percentage, was it like 36% that said between their churches between 300 to 1,000.
Those are big churches.
Yeah. But for the SMS, it was largely less than 100 people. So I think probably if you look at the size of the church, it also depends. It also will determine if people are using digital channels or not. Yeah.
So would I be right in assuming a good number of the people, you said about 20 to 30% say they have no idea what their churches are doing?
Yeah.
Are those largely from the small churches, or are they scattered across the board?
Some of them are scattered, some of them are also from small churches.
Okay. Because my assumption would be the bigger churches have got muscle to, push their online content and to actually produce it.
Yeah.
For that pastor who's probably having 50, 80 people, they may not have the muscle to sustain an online service every Sunday. Yeah, I've seen some of the mainstream established churches, they're having something online daily.
Yes.
And you look at the production, it's not Juakali production, it's very good production. That means they have some change to spare to be able to do that.
So those could be the reasons. And as I told you before, when we looked at the numbers, online versus SMS, we realized that online have like bigger churches than those ones who used the SMS platform.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. But did you find out from them how they compare the online services vis-a-vis actually going to church on Sunday and having face-to-face interaction?
No. We did not do that, because remember what we were trying to do is just get sentiments of how church has changed. For them.
Okay.
Yeah.
So are they enjoying the online service? Is it something that's working for them?
It is working for them. Because when we ask questions on reopening, a huge percentage said that church is just a physical structure.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wow.
The ones who said yes, they want churches to be reopened, said that church means something more. But there was this other group of 45% who said no, they will not. 45% who said no, they will not go back to churches because of this pandemic. It's still, the numbers are rising, and there's still no solution forthcoming. So they mentioned that they wouldn't go to church because church is just a physical structure, and media is already filling the gap of these needs.
Okay.
Yeah.
Another interesting thing I saw in this research, there was this question that he asked, do you have a leadership role at your place of worship? 52% said they have no leadership role.
Yeah.
But 34% said they're part of
a group of leaders.
A group of leaders.
Yeah.
I found that very interesting.
Yeah.
34%, that's a good percentage.
It is. It is a good percentage.
Yes.
And the reason we did that is to just see what kind of people are answering this survey. Is it, because we realize that people who have like a vested interest in this would probably prefer for churches to be opened, or they'll have a different or alternative view from people who have no responsibility in church. Yeah.
Wow. Let's talk a bit about the reopening. I found that also very interesting. You had mentioned a bit about it.
Yeah.
Maybe give us more details on some of the thoughts and reasons for those who are saying churches need to be reopened, and for those who are saying let's wait a while. What are some of the reasons they give?
So those ones who said churches need to be reopened were 55%.
55?
Yes, 55%.
Okay.
And they said the physical building, like church or mosque, temple, has a significance. So some of them mentioned it gives me more blessings if I go there. There's this sense of community.
Yes.
I am part of a group of people I identify with. And then things like communion. So those are the things that really came out strongly on people who said yes. However, there was a huge a percentage, 20% of that 55% who said they are still skeptical about it. Oh. Yes.
They want to go, but they're still a bit reserved.
Still very reserved because they're thinking about the numbers, about whether people will adhere to the rules that have been put in place, or it will just be the rules are put in place for 2 weeks and then, it's gone. Yeah.
Okay.
People are back to normal. So those are the reasons they were most skeptical about.
Okay. What about those who said no?
The ones who said no, the biggest sentiment that I got from there is that church is church is just a physical building.
The building is not the church building.
Yes. The church is in the heart, the church is these are the things that we can that can be done by digital channels.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was there a fear of if we go to church, the infections can spread rapidly?
That was also a really, really huge sentiment that we got. That the virus is still with us, and the rate of infection is increasing or rising. And then also something else that came up was that the elderly make a huge chunk, like a huge percentage of people. And now that they make that huge percentage, and then they're the ones who really are vulnerable to this virus. So how will you tell them not to go to church? Yeah. So that was something that came out, and I thought, wow, people are actually now looking at this more deeply.
Did anyone mention about children?
So for children, they said they wouldn't want their kids to go to church.
They wouldn't want their kids to go to church?
Yeah, they wouldn't want their kids to.
What percentage say that?
Right now, top of my head, I don't have, but it was a good percentage. I think it was something like 70% that said they don't want their kids to go to church.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Motivation Monday, and today we're looking at the effects of COVID-19 on worshippers in the country, and we are looking at a research that was done by Kala. Minim Luya. Kala. And they got to interview about 827 participants, and just asking them various questions, most of them actually centered in Nairobi, and asking very key questions regarding worship and COVID-19 and how this has affected them. And some of the findings are very, very interesting. For me as a pastor, I find it very, very, very interesting. I have a question, not a question, but rather a comment here. It says, such an informative research. The Church of Christ is truly established upon the rock, and the gates of hell shall not prevail against it. I pray pastors, teachers, and preachers will be awakened by this research to focus on the needs of the sheep. And you've given us Ezekiel 34. Thank you for that comment. This one says, that is very interesting what you are discussing. Some of us have really grown. The ritualistic attendance of church that I was used to has been replaced with online services. Personally, Radio 316 has become my church of choice, and the growth is quite evident. This is Martin Gatoto, all the way from Langata. Martin, my namesake, thank you for that comment, and I'm glad that as we fellowship together every morning, you're beginning to see an impact in your life. That is very good. Thoughts, questions, 20316, WhatsApp 0786 316 316. So, Nasubo, there's a very interesting question you guys asked, and looking at the responses, I find it very interesting. How long is your longest worship service? 54% said over 3 hours.
Yeah.
27% said 2 to 3 hours. 19% said 1 hour or less.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts about that?
So remember, as I told you, we're trying to ask about reopening. And then we're looking at these guidelines that have been put in place.
1 hour services.
Exactly. Then we said, let's go back to the data and try to figure out how long are their services. Then we see like majority, 54%, over 3 hours.
Both.
Will that work? Yes, people want to go back to church.
Yeah.
But church is going to change if people are really going to go there. Firstly, we've been told only 100 people to attend. And our majority, so we split the data into two. We had the web responses and the SMS. So the web responses had people between 300 to 1,000. So how is church now going to be for them? And then for the SMS responses, yes, it's less than 100. Sorry, it is less than 100 people.
Yeah.
That was the majority. But then the question begs, is there space good enough to suit 100 people with 1.5 or 3 meters social distancing? So those are questions that really we can't answer because we didn't ask how big is your church.
Okay.
Yeah.
But looking at 54% of the respondents saying their church services are over 3 hours, that tells me there's a struggle there.
Yeah.
When you get now, how do you squeeze that to be a 1 hour?
To be
service?
a 1 hour service.
You're used to 3 hours.
Yeah. You're used to, and maybe it's over 3 hours. It's not just. It's over 3 hours. Yeah.
Wow.
Because we had different answers. We had one less than an hour, over 3 hours, and then between 2 to 3 hours.
Yes.
So maybe you can squeeze 2 hours into an 1 hour service, but how do you squeeze an over 3 hour service into?
Wow. Church service here is serious.
So that's why online channels right now are working for people.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I'm just wondering of these churches where they're having a church service over 3 hours. Where Ebuni, your church service, is it over 3 hours? Where I passed our church service is usually 1:45 to 2. Depends on who's preaching. But now that we're doing it online, we've had to shorten it to maximum 1 hour 15 minutes maximum. If we go past 1 hour 15 minutes, looking at the statistics at the back end, it tells us people are tuning out. So I'm just curious to find out, ile kanisa unaendaga, since we have a fellowship every morning, you can tell me some of the secrets. How long is your church service? Are you category 3 hours and above, or 2 to 3 hours, or less than 1 hour? I'm very curious to know that. I'm just wondering then, maybe then this season where we've been having online services can help adjust, because I don't think they would have an online service that is 3 hours.
They are
3 hours.
Yeah.
Online.
Yes. But that's another research.
Okay.
That's another research.
I think now this is where I need to call my friend Richard Njau to help look at the back end.
Yeah.
Because it's one thing to upload the service or to have it live.
Exactly.
But how many people are actually sticking with you till the end?
Exactly.
People tuning in after praise and worship, wameenda ICC.
Those are things
after
to
giving,
ask.
wameenda NPC. Because people have also, I think it's a season that also has exposed a lot of people to what's happening in other churches, because now everybody's on the same platform.
Exactly.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, information yote vile mmepata hivi, what can you tell us? What are some key things that you can say you have learned from this research that maybe would be beneficial for the pastors?
Yeah, I think the one thing that we learned is that people have needs. Question, have their needs been met? So religious leaders need to go back to their people and ask that question, have their needs been met? how are they doing? Because remember, we had like a percentage that said their faith has slightly decreased. Who is reaching out to those people?
Yes.
The other thing that I think we learned is with these new guidelines, the sheep are, or let me say, the people we talked to, a huge majority, 45% said they're not going back to church because of COVID.
Yes.
So
they still have some concerns.
They still have a lot of concerns.
Okay.
As we think about reopening, how big is your place of worship? Can it accommodate 100 people, as has been stated? I think those are the things that right now religious leaders really need to look into and try to figure it out. Even as people come to church, what is the mechanism of people coming to church?
Okay.
Who is going to track that? Let's say data. Who's going to track that? Let's say one person out of the people who came in had the virus.
COVID,
Yes. Who is going to now notify the rest of the people that, hey, you came for this service and this happened? So those are things that really, before you open church or before you think about reopening, people need to find out those, to put those mechanisms into place.
Okay.
Then when it comes to the elderly, remember they formed a chunk of the attendees.
Yes.
Who's going to take care of their needs? Who is looking after them? Because there was a concern that most of them are elderly, and they're the most vulnerable. So how are they going to be, how are their needs going to be met? Another huge thing is the digital divide that has been seen right now. As it's growing, yes, but people used to say, oh, Kenya, we have good statistics on the number of mobile phones that we have, internet connectivity is high. But the actual question right now is actually how many people are connected online. Now that the default service is online, how many people are connected?
And I think also, Nasubo, another important thing now for me as a pastor is, I think this has also created the awareness that you need to have a database of the people who fellowship with you. Because I remember I was invited to a pastors forum online just to talk to them about a lot of the pastors from Mashinani. We had a Zoom meeting with them, and I was invited to just talk to them a bit about some of the ideas they can explore on social media. And the whole issue of data bundles was a big issue. Our congregants, our members don't have data bundles, and I was asking them, do you have their numbers? Have you sent them an SMS? Because an SMS is also digital. When we talk digital, we are only thinking about the videos and the audios. No, you can even send a text message.
True.
But then if you don't have their numbers, you can't send a text message.
Exactly.
If you don't have their numbers, you can't find out. Even the elderly you're talking about, and the people who are saying they don't know what their churches are doing, does the church have a database of these people? Because if you do have, then you can reach out to them.
True. Yeah, those are really interesting questions. And what we got from this is all the decisions or everything lies really heavily on the religious leaders. If your pastor has no access to you, has no access to doesn't know what your needs are, then they are not able to help you in any way.
Wow.
Yeah.
Going forward, do you see this affecting how we used to do church back in the day? Now we can say it's back in the day. It's almost 4 or 5 months.
True. It's definitely going to affect how church is done going forward. Because when you look at some reports from different countries on the effect of reopening, there are reports on people saying once you start singing and then exactly
you transmit. Okay.
So definitely how we do church is going to change, and we have to adapt with the times. If we really care for our sheep, we have to know their needs and try to adjust to that. To their needs.
You think it will take some time, quite a number of maybe even years, for this fear? Because it's something I've seen even in other media outlets, that one of the main issues about COVID is the fear, and a lot of people are afraid of it. So do you think it will take quite some number of maybe months or even years for that fear to slowly fade away so that people can begin to congregate without thinking, now we are not
Yeah, I think so. It will take time, especially because right now there's no cure.
Yeah.
And there's no, let's say, vaccine that has been developed. So it's going to take time. People have to now see, okay, what do I want from this interaction? Yeah. Okay. Even before I go to church, what do I want from this interaction? So I think most things are going to change, and it's just, as I said, adapting with the times.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. As we wrap up, because I'm looking at the clock and I'm thinking my time is up. Where did the time go? Parting shot.
So as we think of adhering to these guidelines and think about going back to houses of worship, one question I think I'd pose to maybe all the listeners: what is your relationship with Jesus? When you think about Jesus, who is he to you? Yeah, and then when you know that, then he will guide you along and show you what to do and how to do it, as long as first you put your trust in him. So I think that's my parting shot. What is your relationship with him?
Yes.
Are you consulting him for the next decisions? Yes, it's good and it's easy for us to say that we always turn to religion for all our needs, but what is your relationship
with him?
Feel
like taking an offering, my friend. So, but thank you so much for coming through, and thank you for sharing with us the findings of this research you guys were able to do. I think it's very interesting, and it's information that can help a lot of the pastors if they take it to it. If somebody wants a copy of that information, is it available online?
Yes, it's available online. If you go to our Medium page, just go to medium.com. There's a blog that has a link to the
medium.com.
Medium.com, then search for Kala, QHALA.
Yes.
And then it will take you to our page. Then you'll see religion and COVID.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. Or you can send me a WhatsApp message right now, because I have a copy of it and I can forward it to you. If you want to find out the findings of this research, send me a WhatsApp message on 0723 0786 316 316, and I'll be able to forward it to you. Thank you very much. Well, I'm out of time for this interview. I pray that the information we've given you today has been beneficial to you. Naham Jani Jibu, you haven't told me how long your church service is. I'm assuming it's because it's 3 hours and above. Anyway, it's good to be in the presence of the Lord. Better is a day in your courts than 1,000 elsewhere. Hallelujah.
For this and more of our shows, log on to www.familymediaonline.com to enjoy a wide variety of programs, from current affairs to testimonials and features, pastoral and inspirational shows, kids entertainment, and so much more. Also stream live on www.familymedia.tv.